Hey everyone, got another aero bike to show you guys here today. And in case you want to see my System 6 review, I'll post the link up here. And so this one is the 2020 Giant Propel Advanced Pro Zero disc, and it's in this really nice red metallic color. And what's neat about this bike is that this bike is equipped with the SRAM Force eTap group set. So most of my bikes that I review are Shimano group sets. So really neat to see the SRAM group set on here. So in this review, we're gonna go over an overview of this bike, go through all the details and specs, as well as to showcase the new SRAM group set for you guys. Before we begin, I wanna go over a few things. I know there's a missing stem cap over here. It's because the stem hasn't been cut yet, so the cap doesn't really fit. So once the stem is cut, we'll put on the stem cap so no visible wires will be shown. And before we begin, we always gotta start off with a free hub sound check. Love that sound. Yeah, sounds just like my TCR, so let's go. So let's talk about this bike. This bike is a size 54, and for reference, I am 175 centimeters tall. And this bike is spec'd out with the SRAM Force eTap group set. And one of the differences between the eTap and Shimano's Di2 is that eTap is fully wireless. So with Shimano, they have cables running through the bike that send signals from the shift levers to the derailleurs, and then that will control it. But for SRAM's, it's fully wireless. Which is really nice, but it does mean that each component needs to have batteries. So there's a battery here at the rear derailleur, front derailleur, and those will need to be charged. For the front shifters, there's actually those little flat batteries that you need to be replaced. So these ones aren't rechargeable. For this one, if you want to charge it, there's a flap over here. You would just peel it off, and then the battery would come off. I really like the design of this group set, whereas with Shimano's, it's very black, stealthy. With this one, it has a nice machine look to it, really futuristic. I like the gray color tones of this group set as well. Even the front derailleur and the rear cassette is finished in black, so it gives a very nice futuristic look to this whole group set. So another major key difference is that this group set is 12-speed compared to Shimano's 11-speed group sets. The front here is a 35 to 48, and it also has a Quarq power meter built in as well. The gears on the back are 12-speed, and they go from 10 to 28. Now, because it's 12-speed and it fits in an 11-speed sprocket size, basically they had to make everything more narrow. And including the chain, that's why you'll see here, the chain has a flat top design. So according to SRAM, this flat top design, because they had to make the chain more narrow, the flat top design actually adds more durability, and compared to SRAM's 11-speed chain, this new 12-speed flat top design chain is 36% more durable compared to the 11-speed chain. Braking wise, it's also hydraulic brakes, so you get these nice rotors. The design of these rotors are pretty nice. I like them. There shouldn't be any braking performance differences between Shimano and SRAM. It's just a different rotor design. So we have 160 millimeters here at the front, also 160 millimeters here at the back. Coming along to the wheel set, we have Giant SLR1 carbon wheel sets. These ones are tubeless, and fitted on these bikes are CADEX 25 millimeter race tires. So these ones are very fast, but also not that durable. So on my TCR, within the first 3 days of riding, I already punctured my CADEX tires and swapped them out. So good for racing, not for durability. So on the Propels, Giant staggers their wheel sets. So on the front, it is 42 millimeters, and on the rear, it is 60 millimeters. They do this for aerodynamics. The front is a bit more shallower for better control and handling, whereas the rear, it can be a little bit deeper for better aerodynamics. Also, the wheel set is through axle, but for this one, there isn't a removable axle design, so it's just a single piece. And to release it, you just have to unthread it. So this one is a single piece. You can't remove the through axle handle, and then you would just tighten it up like that. Coming to the front end of the bike, you can see that everything is very aerodynamic, very sharp. So on the TCR, it's a bit more rounder, while that one is still aero optimized. This one is like an aero, very sharp and narrow. Including the forks, you can see that it is very aerodynamic as well. It even has this like katana blade design. Really neat design. So I'm sure most of you guys ride with Shimano group sets. They're the more popular ones, and all my friends actually ride Shimano group sets as well, including myself. So let's go through some of the shifting lever differences between the two brands. Right away, you can tell that SRAM's hoods are a bit longer and they extend upwards more at a higher angle. When I grip onto them, they definitely feel a lot larger. And the reach to the shifter is a bit bigger. I'd have to extend my hands out more. I've got fairly small hands, so they feel okay, not too uncomfortable. So for those riders who have small hands, it might be a problem, because I know Shimano has the smaller lever option for girl riders, but this one is pretty big, just something that I noticed right away. These ones are also hydraulic braking. Shift button configuration is different as well. So for SRAM, there's only 2 buttons, one on each side. Okay, so this right hand button shifts the rear derailleur to a harder gear. This left one shifts the rear derailleur to an easier gear. And when you click both at the same time, it will shift the front derailleur either up or down depending on which one you are at. I do like the bigger button because with Di2, there's 2 small buttons. Sometimes I would click the wrong button by accident. This one, there's only 1 massive button, so you can't really click the wrong button. The click of it is really tactile. I like it. Yeah, no complaints there. Shifting is just as fast and crisp as Shimano. So it does take a bit of time to get used to the shifting modes, especially for this front derailleur where you have to click both at the same time. Other than that, it's different but same at the same time. Coming up to the cockpit, you can see that everything is built for speed. There is a SLR Aero handlebar that's carbon. The stem here is aluminum, and it is a 2-piece design, so you can actually switch out the stem and handlebar to fit your preferences. Over here at the front, we have a built-in computer mount. It tucks in neatly over here, and you would just attach your computer, either a Wahoo or a Garmin. You would change the base plate depending on which device that you have. Like I said earlier in the video, this bike is missing a top cap because the stem hasn't been chopped off yet. So there are visible wires right here now. Looks kind of ugly, but once the stem is chopped off and the cap is replaced, it will look very aerodynamic. No visible cables coming out of this bike, including underneath. All the cables are run through the handlebar and into the bike from the back. And then the top cap will just cover that. The spacers on this bike are interesting as well. The front part is plastic, while the rear is this rubber portion. So neat design over there. Coming along to the back, we've got this drop seat stay design, but unlike some of the aero bikes where it has that little flap wing area, this one just kind of curves down. It looks less aggressive than the Tarmac and the System 6 with its wing design drop seat stay, but overall this bike is still really clean, very beautiful bike. So another neat feature of this bike is the inclusion of the safety reflective strips on the back of this bike. So we got 1 running down the seat stay over here and the 2 on the dropouts. So really nice feature, good for safety. As with all aero bikes, the seat post on this bike is very fat and aerodynamic. To adjust the seat post, you would move this rubber portion up, and you have your hex key insert here. You would just turn it and then put this rubber portion back down to hide that. Looks really nice, very aerodynamic. Another thing I noticed about this bike is that compared to my TCR, it's very thin. So what I mean to say is that, for example, the down tube, the TCR's down tube is very fat and beefy. This one, because it is an aero bike, I can see why they made it thinner. But if I were to put a water bottle here, the TCR's is wide enough that it shields the water bottle from the wind. Whereas this one, I think the water bottle would be a bit wider than the down tube. So might be a bit of a trade-off there. Not sure how that affects performance, but I'm pretty sure it's minimalistic, but that's just something that I noticed and wanted to point out. All right, so let's check out the weight of this bike. All right, so this bike weighs it at 8.6 kilograms. And it makes sense for an aero bike that it would be heavier. This isn't a lightweight climbing bike. It's made for speed on flats. So in order to create that aero frame shape, you do have to have extra materials. So that's just something to consider between choosing a lightweight bike like the TCR or an aero bike like this Propel here, is the weight difference. Depending on what terrain you want to ride in, TCR is an overall all-rounder bike that's great for climbing and descending, and it is aero optimized, but it's not a full aero bike like this one. This one is made for speed and will go faster on the flats, but it will be heavier, so might not be that good for climbing. So it depends really on what terrain you ride on the most and what your needs are. So this bike retails for around $7,300 Canadian, and it's a really nice bike. If you want to go fast on flats or live in a more flatter terrain area, then I'd say go for this bike. It's a really solid race bike as well for crits. Overall, I would still go for the TCR because of my riding style. I like to climb mountains, and I just feel like the TCR is an overall better all-rounder bike, but this one is a really fast aero bike. So what do you guys think about this video? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you have any extra questions, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.